Well, how's everybody doing today? On this Saturday, as hopefully by now, those of you in the family uh, recognize who we are and what we're about. I'm Bob Gums, and this is the Concern Forum. And things are getting hot. Uh, and the cheese is definitely rotten in Denmark. Everybody's jumping left and right because I hope everyone out there has been following the news. Uh, El Presidente Trumpo is his ass is getting ready to get impeached. Thank God. Now here goes the deal. It looks like we might have some Republicans in the Senate who are actually starting to show that they have backbone, and they might join with the Democrats to actually vote to impeach and to bounce him out of office. Now, right now, that's still a long shot, but we'll see. Now, for those of you out there who might not remember, when the Nixon impeachment process started, uh, it was not popular. The Republicans were standing by Nixon like a rock. They didn't want Nixon to go anywhere. A lot of Democrats did not even want to be bothered with the whole impeachment process. But what happened as the whole case became, as people found out more and more what Nixon and the Watergate plumbers had been up to, people started to say, hey, what the hell? He can't do this. He's usurping the powers of the presidency. And we can't have this. So that by the time we come to the end of the whole Watergate situation, you had the Republicans and the Democrats joining together and saying, no, this ain't about politics. This is about our form of government. This is about our democracy. And the Republicans in the Senate, they took a walk over to the president's mansion, the executive mansion, and I believe it was Barry Goldwater. And Barry just walked in and just told him, he said, Mr. President, we're going to impeach you, and we're going to run you out of office. You might want to think about resigning because you don't have the votes on your side. And I'm going to be one of the guys that's going to vote to get you out of here. And that was it. And Nixon, he did the smart thing. He resigned. And that was it. Will that happen this time around with Trump? Well, I'll tell you. Trump's case is much more, it's much more dangerous than Nixon's case was, because what Nixon did, he basically he took something upon, he took it upon himself, right? He tried to get over on his own. He had some guys basically break in to a psychiatrist's office, to get information on Democratic opponents. In this case, with Trump Trump has been going to foreign nations. Now, we know for a fact, excuse me, I'm sorry. Whoever this is, I'm doing a television show right now. You'll have to call me back in about an hour. As I was saying, Trump, his problem is that he has been connected with an adversary, foreign nation. And why? How do we know this? Well, through the FBI and through the military intelligence and civilian intelligence agencies that we have. That's what we have them for. You know, if you can remember, um, Trump came in to the White House disliking the FBI, the CIA, military intelligence, uh, and he wasn't all that crazy about the military, believe it or not. And if you sit down and think about it, well, the reason is obvious because he didn't like the idea that there were agencies that basically knew what he was doing. Now, I can tell you personally, me, that we, and when I say we, I speak from the fact that out of the 11 years that I spent in the Navy, I spent half of those years as an intelligence technician, and I was assigned to DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. I'm quite sure I mentioned it quite a few times on this show, but this is where it really comes. You know, this is where it really kind of pays off. Um, and I can tell you for a fact that we have been keeping up with him for years. Um, and not in the sense of spying on him, but, and all nations do this. All prominent people, when they visit, when they travel, the intelligence agencies that their government has, they keep up. For example, uh, what the Beatles, um, ABBA, right? Where were they from? Norway or Sweden? Um, their intelligence agencies kept up with them, not to spy on them, but basically to keep up with them because what happens if they get kidnapped? And those type of things have happened. Robbed. They're very wealthy people. People might try to take advantage of them for their money. All sorts of things. Kidnapped, like I said. And that's why. Anytime in society, anytime you reach a certain level of prominence, um, your country is, you know, they're going to keep up with you, okay? Because your country, all countries, they, they don't want to lose their prominent people, okay? And that's the same thing that we took care. God help us, we took care of Donald Trump, and I can tell you that at least, probably before, but at least since 1987, uh, Donald Trump was very close with the folks in the, well, I'm getting ready to say, well, back then it was still the Soviet Union, Russia, Soviet Union, what have you, okay? So obviously, the, he was over there, and those folks were throwing him a big birthday bash in Moscow, and that was December of '87 when that came across my desk. So obviously, he was close with those people before December of '87, right? He just doesn't pop up in Moscow December of '87 and hey, let's party. Apparently, they knew him before that date, right? So they've had a long and continuing relationship. And I think that that's something that really annoyed Donald because of the fact that apparently he was involved in things that he didn't want people to know about. And because of that, he didn't like the agencies. He didn't like our intel agencies. Uh, Otherwise, he wouldn't have really gave a crap. I do know that the idea of him running for president really didn't pop into his head until after he came back in '88. So you draw your own conclusions, okay? But yeah, that was as a matter of fact, that's the last. And that document, by the way, in case anybody wants to be a wise guy, that document that I'm referring to was marked confidential at that time. So it wasn't a top secret document or anything like that. It was just confidential, uh, letting us know, yeah, Donald Trump, um, New York real estate magnate, was in Moscow, and they were showing him a good time. I believe, like I said, I believe it was his birthday party. But yeah, so our government, Republican and Democrat, we knew that he was always tight with people in Moscow. And then when they finally got to the point where the uh, Soviet system became, how should I say, more capitalistic, um, the only thing that happened, all the guys in the KGB, especially like the high officers, they became the heads of the factories over there. They just took them over, and they basically they took over whole industries for pennies. Because you got to remember the KGB, they were like, you know, I want that, and that was it. You know, I mean, you're oh God, I'm gonna have to. We'll see what happens. Excuse me a second there, folks. Mm, so sorry about that. But anyway, as I was saying, so that's the problem with Donald. He doesn't like the intelligence agencies that we have to protect ourselves. Also, Donald has some very strange ideas. I'll tell you what I mean by that. He wanted to come into the White House starting a race riot. Okay, remember he was talking this yin yang about well, they cheated me in the election. He came in prepared to say that the election was stolen from him. Because number one, he didn't expect to win. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, um, he's still pissed about the fact that he lost the popular vote. See, Trump did not win anything. All right, uh, we need to understand this, or put it this way: a lot of there are folks out there that still need to understand this. Trump did not win anything. Okay, he was selected through the electoral college, which is a whole different thing. Okay, this is an archaic part of our Constitution, which is one of the leftovers from the compromise that unfortunately part of the founding fathers had to make with the serious slave states. Because you have to remember that by the time America had gotten around to making a constitution, okay, most of the states were already abolishing slavery. Okay, so we have a problem because the uh, the states that depended on slavery, they were land rich, but people poor. And so you have the whole thing about representation. And especially when you're looking at the South, they were very terrified that the North would surpass them because we were getting into industrialization, um, uh, steam power, steamboats, and uh, railroads, and all this kind of stuff. And they were, agricultural. So that's what happened. This whole business about the electoral college. Well, anyway, that's where it's from, and that's how Trump was able to get into the White House. You had the Russians basically put a lot of propaganda out there in certain key states, like Michigan. I believe they also worked a lot in Wisconsin, southwestern Pennsylvania, and I think one or two others. And with their propaganda and, telling a lot of bullshit about Hillary. And that's how they were able to do it. And if you think that that's something that somebody just cooked up, I suggest that you read the Congressional Register. Okay, everything that happens in Washington, D.C., with your government can be found in the Congressional Register. And see, that's another problem that I wanted to speak to you about. Now, somebody called and made the comment that, gee, all you do is talk about Trump. Well, actually, no, I don't. Okay, we don't just talk about Trump here. But you need to understand, folks, that up until about a month or so ago, your country was about that close from basically blowing up into a cataclysmic race riot. Okay? So you have to understand that. That's where Trump was taking us. They have their own little plot in mind with the help of Russia. Because Russia, they have their own game plan. They have their own reasons for that. See? Russia cannot take us on a straight up knockdown fight. So they do the next best thing. They take us from the inside because they know that our one weakness is this unity. You have people in this country, there's a certain group of people in this country, evangelicals, right? Well, these people, these poor boys, oath keepers, these right wingers, these right wing people, okay? And Basically, they are tailor made uh, for Russian espionage because what they want to do, they like to use these people to basically cause trouble. All right. Oh, yes. Well, the black people want to take everything and then sit up and, live on welfare. They want to live on your tax money. And see, you got to remember something. The Russians are they're Europeans, and they are very skilled. I mean, hell, World War One, World War Two, the Russian Revolution prior to all of that, they know how the game is played. They played it themselves. They've had it played on them. They saw it played in Germany with Hitler. I mean, they know the game. And see, they figured that that's how they can bring down the United States. And that takes us off the board, just like this business with Trump and what he has done to the Kurds. Now, these are folks who have fought with us side by side. You think we have been fighting in the Middle East? The Kurds have been fighting with us. They have lost over 11,000 people fighting our enemies as well as their own. A few days ago, Donald Trump stabbed him in the back. You know who gains the most? Russia. As a matter of fact, and I'm not going to go into each and every detail, okay? Suffice it to say, since Donald Trump has been in the White House, every move on the foreign policy sphere that Trump has done, who has benefited every time? Putin and Putin's Russia. Now, that should tell you something. But unfortunately, you have, like I say, this whole race thing. And I'm going to really work hard to stop using that term race. It's a stupid ass term because any anthropologist, any scientist will tell you there is no such thing as race, right? You cut me open, you cut a white guy open, guess what? There are no differences. The skin color is just superficial, right? You're going to find, what is it, the mitochondria, the DNA. Basically, it's all the same. It's no different. We all share the same common ancestors, Eve. When mankind first came out of the trees, he did it someplace in southwestern Kenya. That's in Africa. And that's where he began his journey around the entire planet. So this thing about race is bullshit. Race is a political term, really, that began in the 17th, 18th, 17th, and 18th centuries. Okay, it started here in America around the 16th, actually around the 1670s, 1680s. Okay, so race is it was really a dumb term. Okay, and it's time that we stopped using it. It's time that we got rid of it. But unfortunately, here in America, we still have Americans that are hung up with that term, and therein lies the problem. And you know something? That's exactly why this country, in comparison to other Western nations, we are so far behind in many ways. Oh, yeah, I know. Look, I was in the military, both as almost a child and then there's a young adult. Okay, I don't need anyone to tell me about American technology, about the size of our military. Yes, we have the greatest military in the history of the planet. I know all that, right? Um, if we took half the energy that we expend upon bullshit in this country, I have no doubt that we would probably cure cancer in about 5 or 10 years. But you know something? When it comes to things of, healthcare, um, education, the incarceration rate, things of that nature, quality of life, we are far behind our counterparts in the Western world. And all of that, my personal opinion, I believe it's because of this whole race thing. Whoops. Smack myself here using that stupid word again. And that stupid word. Because that's why we live so damn stupidly in this country in terms of quality of life. And you have, people, people tell you this. You watch the news. You listen to people. What do they say? When you're fortunate enough to talk to people, hey, I just came back from, overseas. I just came back from Germany or France or, everything's so much. It's so different over there. I come back here, and it's like the Stone Age. You don't just hear that from me. It's not just little Bobby Gums saying that. You have plenty of people will tell you that who have the opportunity to travel. And, why is that? I mean, don't get me wrong, okay? No place where human beings live is a paradise, okay? But in comparison, the United States, in comparison to, like I said, the rest of the Western world, why are we so far behind? Infant mortality, we are behind in infant mortality. We are behind in the women's death rates when women give birth. Do you know we're behind Germany and France and Finland and Norway? Places like that. Us, America. How the hell did that happen? Us, America. What happened to we're number one? Why is that? See, this is what really busted my chops, man, because, I look at this country, and it's not that I feel like playing a piñata with Republicans right now, but it's just, so many things I don't understand. It's like you go down south, right, for example, and these places now, stone cold Republican. And I'm talking about working class people. And my question is, and maybe I'm providing my own answer, I don't know. Why in the hell are you going to hang out with somebody? You're in a political party because you have certain beliefs that are congruent with that party, And because of that, you feel, well, this party is going to help, my family, so on and so forth. But it's not that way. It doesn't work that way. For example, the Republican Party right now, they're trying to take away your goddamn health care. Why are you going to be with a party that's trying to take away your health care? I don't understand that. I really don't. Why are you going to, I'm with Trump till hell freezes over. Well, wait a minute, man. This guy is a traitor. At the very least, he is an asset to to an adversary nation. And he's trying to take away your health care. Why are you going to hang out with somebody like that? I don't understand you. I really don't. Oh, well, because he's against government. Huh? Well, if he's against government, then what the hell did he run for president for? I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't get it. Okay, I'm black. So you say, well, you're black, Bob, and you like government because all you black people like government. And I'm a white guy, and I believe that government should not be given handouts. But it's okay when government gives handouts to rich people and corporations. I'm not going to get mad at them for doing that. But I'm going to get mad at the Democrat that's running for Congress in my district because he wants to give tax money to feed kids in school so they can concentrate on their studies better. Okay, but you don't like that. Yeah, that's right. Okay, there's just too much government. All right. So, in your way of thinking, there should be. So, if you think that there's too much government, then why are you going to vote for these folks who agree with you that there's too much government, but they're running for a government job? And at that point, the individual would just kind of give me that deer in the headlight stare. And that's usually where the conversation will end. Okay? Excuse me. I find that so strange. It's bad enough that you go through life basically pillaring people, and you really, to be honest about it, you really don't understand why. But then on top of that, you like people or you support people that will refuse to do a damn thing for you. That is so weird. That is so freaking weird. That's just like the whole thing in Kentucky and West Virginia. Who has done the most to help white coal miners deal with the black lung disease? Huh? Who do you think? Barack Hussein Obama. But you talk about him like you talked about him like a damn dog. And who has done the least or nothing? The Republican Party. I don't get it. You have Trump up there as a damn hero. Trump has embarrassed, he has humiliated the United States. We have gone back on our word. He has dishonored our nation. And as a veteran, I feel dishonored. I know a lot of other veterans that feel the same way. But that's cool with you? And you know, something else too. And Trump was able to take advantage of this. Oh, and by the way, all this Republican crap. Let me tell you something. You do realize that up until about 2013, going into 2014, you do know that Donald Trump was a damn good Democrat. You do know that, right? Oh, okay. I just want you Trump lovers out there. I just wanted to make sure that you guys, that you know that. Okay? Oh, okay. But as I was saying, one of the things that he really took great advantage of, should I say your naivete? You guys got this idea. You're part of this segment of the American population that you believe that all America has to do is just stay on this side of the Atlantic and on this side of the Pacific, build a stupid wall that Trump talks about, and that everything will be fine, right? And the pity of it is the world does not work that way. This is not 1700. And I'll be quite frank about it. And I know I might sound a bit harsh, okay? A bit. We're coming to a fork in the road, a big fork, okay? To let this country be placed in the hands of you good evangelical Trump-loving folks, I believe it will be a death sentence for the United States. And I do believe possibly for the rest of for the planet. I truly believe that. Because to put the country in your hands, which is what would happen, for example, if somehow Trump was able to beat impeachment, get himself reelected with a majority House and a majority Senate. I believe that would go down in history as one of the great catastrophes of the modern world. It would be analogous to taking a teenager and trying to shove him back into his mother's womb. Seriously. And I know that sounds damn gruesome. And that's a very ugly, gruesome thing for me to say. And it's meant to be. Because that's exactly what it would be for your kind of folks to be able to put Trump back in the saddle with your type of folks running the House and running the Senate. Yeah, it would be sheer gruesome for humanity because you would tear time itself asunder. And I truly hope and pray that our country will muster better sense than that. Because if we don't, we're finished as a nation. See, the problem with the Republican Party is that for the last 25, 30 years, your party has worked so hard on this jingoistic madness that you're not even a Republican Party anymore. This is a case where the tiger, the lion tamer, has been consumed by the lion. You are terrified of your own base because you have brought about, the Republican Party has brought about its own self-fulfilling prophecy. You never tried to educate your base. You have spent the last 30-some odd years inflaming your base and lying to your base. And I don't know what in the hell you were thinking. Did you not think that those people were not listening? Because now, what you have done, Republicans, you have practically created your own fifth column in this country. You know, I saw this coming along for quite some time, and you know what? I wasn't the only one who saw it. Other people saw it coming too. And one of those folks was Putin. He saw it too. And he saw who would be the right man to put in there. And that was Donald Trump. This is a race war. That's the problem. And see, they were slick about it. That's why when Trump announced for the presidency, he came down that escalator attacking Mexicans. He was also attacking blacks. But if you notice, he attacked blacks kind of like on the periphery at first, but he went after the Mexicans first because he wanted to lay it on thick, that whole foreign thing. See, you have a very difficult time looking at me and trying to call me a foreigner because even the most backward bigot nowadays is even one of those folks. It's starting to dawn on them. Hey, these blacks have been here. Hell, many of these folks have been here longer than my folks have been here. That's true. I know my mom's people have been here since the 1600s. Doesn't make you like me any better. It just, makes you think about a different strategy. Okay? But see, that's what you folks have done in the Republican Party. That's why these issues of ethnicity and who is an American, these are things that have to be dealt with so that we can continue to go forward. Otherwise, every X amount of years, we are always going to come back to this nonsense, and we are never going to get any damn where. And we are never going to be able to have a decent quality of life in this country because anytime someone comes up with a good idea, you're always going to have that crew that's always going to say, well, we can't have no expense college education because then the lazy people will be able to take advantage, or we can't extend unemployment insurance because you're going to have the lazy people take advantage of it, extend it and take advantage of it. And we know who the lazy people are, those other people. That's why out of all the Western countries, we have the worst social safety net. Because people many times are scared to fight for a decent social safety net because of the fact that they will say, oh, well, you just want it for the niggers and the spicks. So they can lay up and do nothing with my tax money. That's right. That's why we can't bring down our recidivism rate. Well, that's why it's so difficult to bring it down in our prisons. Because we can't train people so that they can go out of prison and live useful lives. I'm not going to train a jailbird to go out and why should I train a jailbird with my tax money so he can come out and do something useful? No, don't train him. Lock him up for 5 years and train him to be a fucking animal so he can come out and maybe, I don't know, knock you upside the head one night. Hell, don't bother training him to, send him someplace and treat him like a human being and let him try to learn something so he can be able to take care of himself and maybe even a family. God forbid you do something that makes sense. That's the problem. All behind this, and I'll use that stupid word again, racial bullshit. That's why we need to deal with this. Oh, and by the way, Yeah, Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare for all. Yes, we need it because we need to stop this nonsense in this society, in this country, that you gotta spend a friggin' dollar just to wipe your ass. It's ridiculous. We're the only Western country where you gotta pay a buck to blow your damn nose. It doesn't make any damn sense. You know, one of the reasons why we have such a high suicide rate, and I know I'm a veteran. I know about veterans and our abnormally high suicide rate. But we have abnormally high suicide rates for non-veterans in this country because we drive people up the friggin' wall. That's why. And we have a rich, supposedly, according to him, billionaire president that's never given a damn about anyone but himself and doesn't even give a damn about our Constitution. Well, you heard what he said. He said, what, the Emoluments Clause? What did he say? It was a phony clause? Imagine that. Calling parts of our Constitution phony or fake. Yeah, how long are we going to have to put up with this kind of nonsense? How long are Americans, especially white working class Americans, how long are you going to continue to allow this guy Trump to make a chump out of you? How long? How long? How long are you going to let this guy make a sucker out of you? I mean, hey, I'm a native New Yorker just like him. I know when somebody's running the game. And my God, I will give Donald credit for one thing, and one thing only. He has run a masterful game. He must receive credit for that. It has been absolutely masterful. To come from the highlights of New York City and be able to go all the way down to Mississippi, Alabama, Dallas, Texas. And, the funny thing is, one of the funny things is, this guy, I know that, believe me, we know this guy, right? Evangelical, he's laughing at you clowns behind you. I understand that he laughs at some of you to your face, okay? But I know damn well, for the most part, he's laughing at you behind your back, okay? Trust me, Donald Trump could give a shit if you were gay, straight, diagonal, rectangular. If you are giving him money, he could give a hoot in hell, okay, what your sex life is about. All right? And yet, you fools, standing around praying for this SOB to his face. He must go to bed at night, right? And he must tell Melania, baby, I really got these clowns going. I really do. But he knows as long as you publicly um, do everything you can to force women to stop having abortions, um, to make sure that no pastry uh, chefs are forced to make cakes for gay weddings. They'll follow him to the gates of hell. He knows that. But it's almost, you know, one could almost feel sorry uh, for you evangelicals if you folks were if you were half decent people who really gave a damn about your fellow human being. One could really almost feel some empathy for you, but you don't. So to me, that's the only funny thing about this whole situation. But as a New Yorker, as a native New Yorker, I'm sorry. For this and for this alone, I'm sorry. I have to tip my hat. I have to tip my hat to Donald. This is the greatest con in American history. And and what's so sad, I listen to some of these people at these Klan rallies. I mean, at these Trump rallies, and it's bizarre because some of those people, many of those people, they actually believe that Trump cares about them, and that's heartbreaking. It really is. It truly is. And that to me, that is such a sign of ignorance and backwardness and superstition. It makes you wonder what century are those people living in. That's why I say we cannot let this country continue to slip backwards like this. We cannot. But you folks continue to, call your congressmen, call your senators, and tell them that you want them to stay on the case. And that looks like the time is up. Well, my friends, I've enjoyed our little tete-a-tete for the day. Listen, keep up with the news. Keep up with the fight. Oh, and make sure that you go out there and friends, family, neighbors, the folks at the grocery store, make sure people are registered to vote. Believe me, this election coming up, it's important. You know, they always talk about, oh, this will be the most important election of your life. Well, they always say that, but this time it's true. So listen, next Saturday, same time, same place, same channel. God bless. Catch you later. This is Bob Gumbs in the Concerned Forum. Peace.